So our Baltimore Ravens just reached a massive contract extension with the all-pro safety Kyle Hamilton, and John Harbaugh said that they're not done yet, so we could expect another big-time contract with a player like Lamar Jackson, Tyler Linderbaum, or Isaiah Likely in the near-coming future. Plus, 3 undrafted free agents made the Baltimore Ravens team, which was very hard to do with this very loaded roster. We're going to break that down. I also have a reunion with a former quarterback and Tyler Huntley, a look at the practice squad and the roster, as well as some injury updates, man, and much more as we have the season right around the corner. So welcome into another episode of Ravens Reports. It's your guy Noah here with For the Flock, as always, bringing you guys our top 5 news reports and storylines coming out of our Baltimore Ravens today. Few more days that we're still staying with the mother-in-law before we move into the new house and we set up the new studio. So excited for that, excited for the new season. A lot of changes, man. I appreciate all my For the Flock family that's liking the videos, supporting the ones that have been here for years, and the family that we've built here. So go ahead and hit that subscribe and notification bell if you haven't already. A lot of times YouTube will keep feeding you the content if you watching, and a lot of people are unaware that they're even not subscribed. So let's go ahead and dive into the content, man. At number 1, let's talk about Kyle Hamilton, who, by the way, in 2024 had 107 combined tackles, 30 assisted tackles, 2 sacks, an interception. Man, this dude has been a monster playmaker for the Baltimore Ravens. You can see when he lays the wood, when he flies in out of nowhere. You know, he runs to the football, smacks somebody. He sets the tone for the entire defense. He's one of those energy guys that gets everybody else fired up and that brings energy. We need more of those dogs on this team. Kyle Hamilton is certainly one of them. He's a leader on this roster. One thing he said is that I have a lot of accolades in my career, a lot of check boxes. He has all pros, Pro Bowls, been to the playoffs multiple times, been to an AFC championship, but he's never won a Super Bowl. He said, that's one checkbox I have not ticked off. And here's what Kyle Hamilton had to say about thanking God for this extension, as well as the reason why. One of the reasons why he extended was having number 8 here in Baltimore. So here's what he had to say.
It's crazy. It's a dream come true. And just first, I just want to thank a lot of people. I want to thank God first and foremost. And so many situations and things that happened in my life that's got me to this position. And I think back to draft night, and some people have said some things about where I was drafted, this and that, and where I could be drafted. And at the time, I think I was the least mad at anybody. I knew that I came to the right place, and I think that's how God just works sometimes. You know, you got to see the bigger picture and has bigger plans for us. So thank you to the man above, and also to my family, my parents, my brother, fiance, all my friends, everybody just had a part in this, and this is it takes a village, and I truly mean that, and I truly feel that way. And to Mr. Bisciotti, to EDC, to Coach Harbs, and everybody who's got me to this point and developed me, and I really feel like I've been kind of molded into the player I am today by them, and goes to show how why this organization is the way it is, and why it's such a great organization, and they do a great job, and it's good to be rewarded. Yeah, I mean, 8 helps out a lot. If we got 8, we got a chance. So, I mean, we could put whoever around him. I think we go as he goes, and I think everybody in the building kind of agrees with me. As long as he's here, we have a chance for lifting that trophy at the end of the year, and that's not hyperbolic at all. I mean, he's one of the best to ever do it, and he's him for a reason. So, that just kind of goes as being a Raven right now in this era. You're going to play with Lamar Jackson. You're going to play in some big games. You're going to play, hopefully, for some championships in the future. So I think that goes for coaches, players, staff, people in the cafeteria. Expectations are high because of that guy right there. And no, it's a lot of pressure on him, but I don't think he really feels it.
It's a 4-year extension worth $100 million, making him the highest paid safety in NFL history. A large chunk of that is guaranteed money. $82 million of that is guaranteed. Makes Hamilton the highest paid safety in NFL history and the highest paid non-quarterback in Ravens history. Wow. The highest paid player that's not been a quarterback in NFL history is Kyle Hamilton. That's absolutely crazy. Plus, keep in mind, the Baltimore Ravens are about to make Lamar Jackson the highest paid player in NFL history. Out of all the positions, all the teams ever, that's what they're about to do with Lamar. But a little reminder here, in the first 8 weeks before Kyle Hamilton was moved to free safety with the turmoil and the issues they were having back there in the secondary, they had the 26th overall completion percentage of downfield targets of over 20 yards, and defensive EPA on those targets, 29th. After he got moved to free safety and moved back there and doing the different coverage things he was doing on the back end, that went up to 7th and 4th. So this guy is not only an energy-bringing, cerebral, smart student of the game that diagnoses plays in season before it happens. He clocks guys. He brings the wood. He brings the energy. Is an absolute weapon as a blitzer. I remember that one play against the Browns where he tipped up the ball on his own blitz, caught the ball, and then just trotted into the end zone like it was no big deal for a pick-6 touchdown. He's also had multiple of those blitzes where he's knocked Joe Burrow down, he's sacked him, or he's deflected the ball in big-time moments. But not only can he do those things around the line of scrimmage and pop guys, he can also go man-to-man and cover tight ends and even slot receivers. And then he can also just take away portions of the field in deep zone coverages as that deep safety. Man, this dude's an absolute weapon. I'm excited he's in Baltimore for years to come. At number 2, let's talk about the 3 undrafted free agents that made the roster. We talked about this being a possibility, but Keon Martin was a guy that literally came in as on a rookie minicamp tryout. Eric DeCosta said in his video where he announced that he made the roster, he said, bro, this doesn't happen. Like, it's very rare that this happens where a player comes in on a rookie tryout, not only gets then invited to training camp, but then also makes the roster. Very rare, very rare. Keon Martin in uncharted territory. So Keon Martin makes the roster, despite all odds. Jay Higgins, the traditional thumping linebacker out of Iowa. This dude was a monster in college football, a ton of production. Didn't go drafted because he's not the biggest or most athletic guy, not the fastest guy. But here's what Jay Higgins had to say on not being the biggest and fastest guy, but having the feel and the instincts at that linebacker position.
Yeah, I think the game's changed. I mean, dudes are athletic. I mean, you can get a 6'4" guy who's 225 now, and he used to play safety. And I think that's just a testament to guys getting bigger, faster, stronger every year. But I mean, I think the game's won in the X's and O's. I'm not the biggest guy. I'm obviously not the fastest guy. But I think there's a feel for inside zone. Like, there's a feel for pin pull. Like, you got to feel those things. And maybe it's because I went to Iowa and I played with I seen a fullback and Linderbaum and big guards for 5 years. But there's something about just feeling the offensive line and who they're working up to and when that guard's pulling. You just gotta feel those things. And it's cool because Roquan talks like that. He can't really explain why he did what he did every single time, but he has a really good feel of what's going to happen and how the play is going to develop. And I think that's what makes a good linebacker.
I also love the tweet from Pops. His father went to X and he, posted this. Thanks, Hawkeye Football, for the development. God placed Jay Higg with the Ravens organization at such a time as this, and he made me and my mom proud. Go get number 49, Jay Higg, Jeremiah 29:11, which, if you guys don't know that scripture, it's one of my favorites. For I know the plans I have for you, not to harm you, but for you to prosper. If you guys haven't figured already, I'm a big believer. Christ has absolutely saved my life. I was in a place where I was in darkness, depression, anxiety, addiction, all kinds of things, and I surrendered, gave my life to Jesus. He gave me brand new life. I was born again, and I have actual joy, hope, and peace now. And as much as I love football, as much as I love the Baltimore Ravens, the only person that can actually bring me satisfaction and joy and contentment is Jesus Christ. These other things, money, the world, football, all that stuff, can give you temporary satisfaction, but Jesus is the only one that can actually satisfy your soul. And that's what I live for now. And telling other people about the good news is a Christian channel. So anytime Lamar Jackson will talk about Christ and players like this, I like to highlight it because it's a big part of who I am. But his dad talks about his faith, talks about the odds that Jay Higgins defied and made this roster as an undrafted free agent. Not only did the Ravens have one guy make it as an undrafted free agent, they had 3, which is super impressive. Eric DaCosta said that he was disappointed in last year's undrafted free agent draft class. He felt like he could have done better with the scouting department. And he said, he challenged those guys, hey, we need to do better this time. And they certainly lived up to the task, man. We also had Ruben Lowry as the third guy, the safety, corner/safety. He's just a awesome DB. The Ravens kind of moved into safety towards the end of preseason. He started as a corner, I think, in training camp, then kind of transitioned around. But very talented DB that all he did was make plays during training camp. Multiple interceptions, including on guys like Lamar Jackson, not just the backup quarterbacks. Same thing with Keon Martin, man. He made the most of all 3 of these guys made the most of the opportunities and made the roster as undrafted free agent rookies. Shout out to these guys. At number 3, Tyler Huntley is officially back. He signed to the practice squad. He actually came back with the Baltimore Ravens before he originally departed in free agency. Then he came back from the Ravens practice squad. Then the Dolphins signed him off our practice squad. So the Ravens have been trying to bring him back, but he got poached. Now he's officially back on the practice squad, so teams are still free to sign him to the active roster. But it's funny because he was with the Browns in training camp, so he kind of has a look at what their offense is and can kind of give the Ravens some tips and tricks before they actually play the Ravens in week 2 whenever Joe Flacco is going to be that starting quarterback. That'll be a lot of fun and very nostalgic and interesting to see Joe Flacco come back to Baltimore, this time in a different colored uniform. That'll certainly be strange a lot, especially for some of the Ravens fans that have been watching since the Joe Flacco era. Some Ravens fans that are here, maybe you're watching. You've only been a fan since Lamar's been a quarterback. That's awesome. That's cool. It'll be a weird feeling for the guys that have watched Joe Flacco and rooted for Flacco because he obviously won a ring here in Baltimore. At number 4, also let me go back real quick. Here's a look at the practice squad. Quarterback Tyler Huntley, wide receiver Anthony Miller, Keith Kirkwood. These guys made a lot of plays in training camp, and the Ravens wanted to keep them around. Veteran wide receivers, Anthony Miller and Keith Kirkwood. Cornerback Marquise Robinson, another young guy. Dearness Johnson played well in preseason, ran really hard. John Harbaugh seemed to really like him and wanted to keep him around the practice squad. Decided to go with him over some other guys that were competing. Thomas Graham Jr., the cornerback that made an interception in that last preseason game. Keandre Jackson, another young guy. Safety. Fullback Lucas Scott. I think he was originally a guard in Army, and then the Ravens, he converted to fullback, and he made some plays in preseason. So Ravens have another option there if Patrick Ricard were to go down with the injury. Inside linebacker Chandler Martin played well. Cayman Rucker, outside linebacker. Defensive lineman Brent Urban, the vet. We'll see if he gets called up for game days, how the Ravens do that shuffling there. Outside linebacker Malik Ham. Remember how good Malik Ham was playing before that original injury that he had a few years ago. And the defensive line coach and the pass rush coach, Chuck Smith, has been very high on Malik Ham, so it's nice to keep him around. Outside, or center, Nick Samak. Jared Penning, guard. Big tackle, massive guy. Jared Lichtenhan. Man, I messed that one up. I messed that one up. And then Zaire Mitchell Payton, tight end. And then the big international guy, I believe he's 23 years old. CJ Okoye, massive dude. Back on the practice squad, defensive lineman that originally came in through the International Pathway Program through the Chargers in 2023. Has bounced around with some teams since then, but a guy with some promise and some massive size. So the Ravens have a nice little, got some nice depth on this defensive line between Brent Urban and CJ Okoye on that practice squad. John Jenkins as that big backup nose tackle. Travis Jones, Dominique Matabike, Broderick Washington, and Aeneas Peebles. I'm really liking this defensive line group. But let's go ahead and move on to number 4. Here's a look at the new deals this offseason. Adam Schefter put it out. Kyle Hamilton, 4 years, $100 million. Derrick Henry, 2 years, $30 million. Ronnie Stanley, 3 years, $60 million. Rashad Bateman, 3 years, $36 million. But John Harbaugh said, we're not done. We'll see who's next. It's probably going to be Lamar Jackson before the season kicks off. I'd love to see that. And he's going to get paid. Eric DaCosta would not provide details because he doesn't. Keeps it private, especially with Lamar. That's kind of the arrangement they have. Lamar's a private guy, represents himself, doesn't have an agent. So I'm expecting big things there. At number 5, injury updates. A little bit concerning here. Cornerback Jair Alexander still not practicing. Season's right around the corner. I mean, we play in like less than 10 days. So if he doesn't strap up, who do you guys think is going to be that starting outside cornerback opposite of Nate Wiggins? Are they going to keep Marlon Humphrey in the slot? Are they going to bump him outside and put somebody else in the slot? Kyle Hamilton can play slot. Are they going to play TJ Tampa? On the outside, they're going to play Chidobe Awuzie. He's been missing practice as well. Who are they going to go with? They actually parted ways with Jalen Armour-Davis, and he ended up on the Titans, getting claimed by the Titans. I was really surprised by that move. I know a lot of you guys were as well, because he played really well in preseason, played great in camp, but his issue has been injuries the last few years. He hasn't been able to consistently stay healthy. But I wish Jalen Armour-Davis the best. I think the Ravens probably wanted him back on the practice squad, but it didn't work out that way. The Titans claimed him. They also claimed defensive lineman C.J. Ravenel, who flashed in preseason. But good news is Mark Andrews is back at practice because, Isaiah Likely's still dealing with that foot fracture recovery. He'll probably not be playing until week 3, 4, 5. So, Mark Andrews is the guy. I have him in fantasy. I'm only in one fantasy league this year. I got a lot of invitations for some other ones, but came a bit of a distraction for me actually last year, where I was spending a lot of my time on my fantasy football team. So I'm only in one league this year, and it's a non-paid league. So, but anyways, I digress. Mark Andrews, he's back. He's going to have a monster season. He wants to prove to the NFL, the rest of the league, his teammates, that he's still a dog. He's still the guy. By the way, man, he still made a ton of plays for the Ravens last year, even in the playoff game, that he had those mistakes, that he had the fumble and he had the drop. So he's going back into Buffalo where he made those mistakes. I think this dude's going to have another level of attitude, and I think the Ravens coaching staff and Lamar Jackson is going to make it a thing to get him the football. He's still been one of Lamar's favorite targets throughout training camp, and still dominating. So he's fully back healthy, and I'm excited to see what Mark Andrews does this year, man. Let me know all of your thoughts in the comment section below. Smash the like button if you got any value out of today's content, man. I love you guys. I appreciate y'all. Thank you all for tuning in, and we'll see you in the next video.
When he wasn't looking, he ran me over.